All right, we are learning the about Moshe, that amazingly his amazing birth against all odds. And is being brought up now in the house of Paro, exactly the same Paro that's trying to kill everybody. We said this before. Not only did he elude Paro's men and he escaped death, exactly the opposite. Even more, Paro actually raised him and brought him up and protected him and kept him warm and kept him this. Okay, one day, Vayehi Bayamim in those days, Vayigdal Moshe got older, Vayitze Elachav, and he went to his brothers. Vayar is the Jews, and he saw in their suffering. Now, did he know that he was a Jew? Now, I don't know. I mean, it could be the decree had ended a long time ago about killing all the Jews. But it's hard to believe that Paro would know that he was a Jew and let him live. In any case, Moshe goes and sees, and he saw an Ish Mitzri Maka Ish Ivri. Me'achav, he saw a Egyptian man beating a Hebrew man from his brother. First of all, here's Moshe. How did he get this name Moshe, by the way? How did he get the name Moshe? Where did it come from? So let's just go one that says that Paro's daughter pulled him out of the river, and she gave him over to Miriam and said, raise him up. Vayigdal Yelit, the child grew up, and he was brought to Bas Paro, and she became a Ben, right? A son. It was like a son to him, and his name was called Moshe. And it said, Menamayim Mishisiu. So amazingly, what happened over there? Moshe, to Yocheved, the Moshe was brought to his mother, and that she was the one who nursed him. So now it says up to this time he didn't have a name. His name was called Moshe. Why? Because he was drawn out from the water. Where did he get this name from? So first of all, how did he get a Hebrew name? This is the question that's asked over here. Im Tomar, if you ask a question, hello, Mitzri Sayata, she was a Egyptian woman, the daughter of Paro. How did she call his name Moshe, which is a Hebrew word? You can say that, well, maybe she really did call him an Egyptian name, and the implication of that name, the meaning was Moshe, that he was drawn out of the water. And the Torah, that's the one that calls him Moshe in a nation Ivri. Or maybe we can say that she, Paro's daughter, learned Hebrew, Mishaboa Ivrios, the Mitzrayim, as soon as the Hebrew women came to the Egypt, because it says that she drew him out of the water, and that nobody wanted to, he didn't want to nurse many other women until finally she had to give him to a Hebrew one. So maybe she learned Hebrew from that. And we also see the same thing about Paro, that he said he knew that the name was Yosef, but he called him Tzafnat Paneach. Shem Yosef Tzafnat Paneach. And so we see that Yosef was called Tzafnat, which is a Hebrew word. Tzafnat, it was hidden. Paneach, that he was, means hidden. Paneach, he was able to explain what was hidden. So we see that he must have known Hebrew, even though that it says that Paro knew all the languages in the world except for Hebrew, and that Yosef knew also Hebrew. But, all right. Here's an interesting comment by the Ohr HaChiam. It says, so we find that there's a difference in the name of Yitzchak and Yaakov and the Shvatim and all the others. All of the Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, all of the tribes, Yehuda, Shimon, Levi, all of them had names, and all of them explains why they got their names. Right? All of them says why they got their names. It says, like for instance, Avram, God calls him Avram ki Avhamon goyim nasaticha. Right? But let's not start with Avram. Let's start with Yitzchak. Yitzchak, it says Kol Hashem Yitzchak Li, and there it gave the reason, and then it says his name is Yitzchak. Yaakov, it says Yado Yochezes Be'esav Yaakov. And all the tribes, it says the reason first, and then afterwards it says the name. Like Ruvain, it says God saw my suffering. They're called Ruvain. God heard my prayers, called him Shimon, etc. First of all, it gives the reason, and then it gives the name. And so on is all of them, which is not the case Moshe. Moshe, first of all, it says that it says the reason, and afterwards it gives the name. Says the Ohr HaChiam HaKadosh. Why? Ulai, maybe the imahot, the Sora, Rivka, Rachel, Leah, they were Bali Ruach HaKodesh. They had divine inspiration. And they would mesigos, bechayus, they could understand the life force of the name, the reason for it, and then they would call the name. The name that they called was according to the spiritual reason that they saw. Shayu makavnim bo, they would attend the name according to the spiritual reason, which is not the case Moshe. Moshe comes to tell us that Magid, I'm sorry, Hashem, sorry, I skipped line. Hashem Moshe, Magid comes to tell the Kasuv, the Torah comes to tell you, Shalo Shina, Lo Hisiga, I'm sorry, Shalo Hisiga, that his mother did not grasp Leda to know Bechinat Hashem, the level from where his name came from. She couldn't grasp the spiritual reason for the name of Moshe. Ki Shimon Niflat Yagid, because his name was amazing. It was wondrous. It was incomprehensible. The reason for his name. And we can see that that's what Moshe did. He did miraculous things. You can understand what it says in the book of the Zohar. It says the hints that are made of this. You look over the Tikkuni Zohar and Tikkun. And also, it says, Hashem, it says, Asam Shamos Boretz, that God put names in the world. The word Shemos also means destruction. Some Befia Hashem, God put this name in her mouth, Moshe. And that what it gives a reason afterwards. It says, because from the water he drew him, right? It gives a reason. But this is lo yadat tamzul. That was the only reason that she could figure out. But that wasn't the real reason. And it says actually in Torah, or maybe we'll learn that tomorrow, that it says that Moshe was drawn from the water. Water means the highest spiritual level. The heavens, Shamayim means heaven, and Shamayim means all the heavens. Is the main part of it is Mayim. So it says that Moshe was drawn out of the water. He was above all the levels spiritual. Or maybe it could be that it says the Ohr HaChiam. I got another reason. Maybe the daughter of Paro concealed the reason for the name. She didn't want everyone to be realized. She knew the reason, but she didn't want to, because this was the opposite of all the Egyptian people. What was all the Egyptian people? Hefech ratzon kol ama latzilotam, in order to save them. She'im gazru aleim, that the Egyptian people decreed on the Jews to throw them into the river. And now she was calling Moshe's name to draw him from the river, minamayim mishisiu. And she was going to now negate this evil decree of theirs. Therefore, she didn't advertise the name, but she just called him Moshe. That's all. She didn't give a reason why. And the Torah is the one that tells us the reason why, because from the water he was drawn. In other words, Paro's daughter, she realized the holiness of the Jewish people, and she wanted to save the Egyptians. They were trying to destroy the Jews, and she knew that this would only bring upon them a big curse. So therefore, she called him Moshe, because he was the one that was going to save the Jews from being pulled out of the water, or from destruction. And that would, she hoped at least, to save the Egyptian people. That's also what the Sforno says. Then Moshe, that he saved other people from the water, etc., draw him out of the water, because he was like one of them that was thrown into the water, and so he was saved. Okay, so here we go. Moshe, here we have a scary one, and maybe we'll just skip to this. Okay, in those days, she saw Moshe saw his brothers suffering, and he saw an Egyptian man beating a Jewish man, one of the men of his brothers. He explains who it was. It's sort of not nice who it was. In any case, he was beating up a Ish Ivri. Who was this? This was the. All right, we won't have to go. Let's not go into it. He was beating up. So he said, Moshe said to him, okay, Ohr HaChiam says, what does it mean, one of his brothers? He could have just said he was beating a Jew. What does he have to say, a Jew of his brothers? Moshe saw that this Egyptian was beating up a person that was like him, a tzaddik, just like him, because there were also evil people among the Jews, which we're going to see them in a moment. You can see what they said. It says that only 1/5 of the Jews left Egypt. In other words, 4 portions stayed back in Egypt. They wanted to stay there. According to the one, there are other opinions that said that even more than 4/5 died in the darkness, and the rest of them, because they were even more evil. So a bunch of them left, and they died in the darkness. They didn't want to have anything to do with it. So, and we see also later, also it says a lot, and there's another place where it says that we'll learn about it in Parshas Bo, in a couple of Parshas, that it says that the angel of death went and it killed, and it says it smote all of the Egyptians. So it says you might think that if a Jew was in the house of an Egyptian, that he would get smitten. He says, no, it only smit the Egyptians. So the Rebbe, Lubavitcher Rebbe, asked the question, what? I don't understand. Why does it have to tell us a thing like that? That on the night of Passover, when all the Jews were going out of Egypt, that if there was a Jew in the house of an Egyptian, that the Jew would be saved. What was a Jew doing in the house of the Egyptians? What would he be doing then? Thing like that. So he says, it's just to let you know that there were evil Jews back then, and nevertheless, God passed over them. He didn't kill them. So he says that's what it means that Moshe saw an Egyptian beating one of his brothers. In other words, he saw him beating a Jew that did not deserve to be beaten for any reason whatsoever. There was nothing. So he said, Moshe said, he looked here and there. Vayarni said, "You ain't ish. There is no person." Vayachet Mitzri, and he smote the Egyptian, and he hid him in the sand. What does it mean? He looked here and there. Rashi says looked. What do you mean he looked here and there? And he saw there was no one. Just say he saw there was no one around to see. What do you mean he looked ko? Rashi says that Moshe looked and saw Haya babayit ma asala sadeh ulefi peshuto. It says that this Egyptian was trying to rape a Jewish woman, and the husband came and complained, and that's why he was beating him. That he saw that. He said there's no ish. He looked here and they saw there was no ish. What does it mean, ish? There was no one that was going to come out of this Egyptian, that maybe the Egyptian would convert. And because he would convert, maybe a Jew would come out in the future. So he said he saw that absolutely no good was going to come out of this Egyptian. So it said he smote him and he died. Okay, the story gets a little bit more complicated. Next day, Moshe goes out the next day. There's two Jewish men that are fighting. And he said to the bad one, why are you beating your friend? And here it seems to imply that one of the Jews was a good guy and the other one was evil, and the good guy was beating the and the bad guy said to the bad one, why are you beating your friend? Rashi doesn't sort of look at it that way. It looks like this. It says two people, Datan, who are they? Datan and Aviram. Datan and Aviram make a lot of trouble. Shotiru, those are the same two Jews that when Moshe said, don't go out on Shabbos and gather from man, right? Don't go out and every day when you finish the man, you should get rid of it. As they didn't listen. They tried to store it up and they went out on Shabbos together. Whatever Moshe said, they did the opposite. They also made trouble, it says later on, with Korach. We'll see. Nitzim says, Lama Takia, why are you beating, even though he didn't beat him yet? Rashi says a very interesting thing. From here we learn that if you raise your hand on your friend, you're already called an evil person, Russia. He said, why are you beating your friend? Russia, he says, your friend means the other person was as bad. Both of them were evil. Russia kamotcha. He said to the evil person, why are you beating your friend? Another evil. In other words, Moshe couldn't stand to see two Jews fighting, even if they were both evil and they both really deserved it. The Ohr HaChiam doesn't exactly agree. He says, he said to the Russia that Moshe said to the Russia, the bad one. And he said, why are you beating your friend? What does it mean? Russia kamotcha. He said he was bad like him, but why should you beat him up just because he's a little bit better than you? And there was one of them he called a Russia. The fact is the other one was also bad, but he wasn't as bad as the one that was doing the beating. He says, just because he's better than you, that's the reason to beat him up? Oh, you'd say, maybe another meeting, says the Ohr HaChiam, Rabbi Chaim ben Attar. Ki hikir she'echad Russia, he saw that one of them was bad, and one of them was a simple person, that he didn't do anything to him. Therefore, he said to the Russia, why are you beating? Adam Shalom Nitchayev, why are you beating someone that doesn't deserve it? He's not, didn't do anything bad to you. He's not looking for you to harm you. And he said, Reyecha, why did he call him your friend? That even though Hagam She'omer B'tchili says that there were two people fighting, excuse me, just 1 minute. טוב, אני אצלצל לך עוד כמה דקות, טוב? אנחנו לומדים היום. שבע, כן? שבע? שבע, שלום. It says two people that were fighting. So it says it doesn't really mean, really one of them was doing the fighting for no reason because he was just a bad person. And the other person wasn't really doing anything. So therefore, that's another reason. You could look at it that way. The one of them was bad and the other one wasn't. Here's an interesting Kli Yakar. Here. Moshe said, listen to this. It seemed, why are you beating your friend? Oh, let's go to the next one. Vayomer, and the one that was doing the beating said, who made you a judge? Leave me alone. Halargeni, what do you want to do? You want to kill me? Ata Omer, you're speaking about killing me? We're going to see what this word amar. Right? Harageni Ata Omer, you want to kill me just like you killed the Egyptian? Okay, this is a strange word because it sort of said, Halargeni Ata Rotze. You want to kill me just like you killed the Egyptian? So Moshe said, whoa, I thought that nobody saw me kill the Egyptian. I thought no one saw me. Vayira Moshe was very afraid. Vayomer, and he said, Achen nodar davar. Wow, it's known that I killed the Egyptian. Now it's known. Okay, let's look over here first of all. Moshe said, Achen nodar davar. Behold, the thing is known. I'm going to read a Rashi over here that's really quite frightening, to tell you the truth. Chet hadibur. What was the sin? The sin, noda hadavar, the sin of davar, of speaking. What did this person say? He said, Moshe, I see that you're a murderer. You want to murder me too. What does he have to say a thing like that for? Because he was speaking negatively, asher ba'avura, because of this, that's why the Jewish people are suffer more than all the other nations. Why? Because God is very, very exacting with the Jewish people. And if Jewish people speak badly about each other, the sin of speaking badly, magdil avonos, makes the sins even greater. And magdil avonos is one of the greatest sins. And it's corresponding to idolatry, sexual sins, and murder. And the truth is not so. The fact is, the Jewish people become redeemed because they don't have Lashon Hora. They hold themselves back. But only these two people, these were the only ones that spoke bad. And the Torah advertises them because they were the ones that were speaking evil. But let's see what Rashi says over here. First of all, what did the Egyptians say to Moshe? He said, who made you into a judge? Hari Odechanar, you're just a young man. You're young. Moshe was, who knows, 13. Harageni, you are speaking about killing me? You want to kill, what does it say? Amor. To kill me, you are saying? Mikan, here we learn, Shehargo b'shem amaforish, that how did Moshe really kill this Egyptian? I mean, the Egyptian was beating this Jewish man. The Egyptian was a strong person. At least he was older, and you could see that he was a belligerent person he was beating. Moshe was just a young person. How did he kill him? So he said he killed him with one of the names of God. He spoke a name of God, and the name of God is pure good, and that sucks any little bit of good, like a little flame jumps into a big flame, out of this evil man, namely the fact that God is keeping him alive, and he died. Now Moshe became afraid. What did he become afraid of? Like we said, that he said, wait, somebody knows that I killed the Egyptian. He knows that I killed him. But it says, there's a midrash, a very scary midrash. And it says like this, Dag lo, Moshe was very worried, Sharabi Yisrael Rishayim, that he saw that among the Jews there were evil people. Dilatorim, that spoke, dilatory means that they slanderers, they spoke bad things. Omar, he said, Me'ata Shema Einam Roim Le'Galil. If so, maybe they're never going to get out of Egypt. Right? And he said, Achenu davar. Now the thing is known. What's known? We thought simply it means now it's known that I killed the Egyptian yesterday. But Rashi says something a little different. Achen, now the thing is known. What's known? It says the Midrash, Nodeli, now it's known to me a davar, Shayiti Tameh, that I was very amazed. Ma Chata Yisrael, what did the Jews sin? Mikol Shivim Umas, from all the other nations, Liot Nirdim, to be punished, to be suffering, Ba'avudat Parach, to suffer in this terrible exile. I mean, these Jews, they weren't put into exile because they did something. They were born in exile. The Jews were born in Egypt. They didn't do anything to get this punishment. Moshe said, I was wondering, why are they here? Said, Ochenu da davar, but now I understand why the Jews deserve it. If they can speak badly against each other, right? If they can fight with each other for absolutely no reason. So now I'm afraid that maybe they won't be redeemed. Of course, we know that they were redeemed. So, but on the other hand, not all of them. There was a very small number, like we learned before. In the plague of darkness, a lot of them did die. So he says, Har Largeni, the Ramban asks a question. And he asked a question like this. He quotes Rashi, first of all. From here we learn that he killed him with the name of God. That's what Rashi says. Okay, now who said this? Who said this? This evil Jew said, Halargeni ata omer, you're going to try to kill me with the word of God like you killed. Says the Ramban, I'm sort of amazed with this. This comes from a midrash, but says the Ramban, I really don't understand this midrash. If so, who was it with the told? How did this evil man know that Moshe killed this Egyptian with the word of God? Maybe he saw him, he peeked and he saw him kill this Egyptian, Samach Yado Alav, he put his hand on him and he cursed him with the name of God. That's what it means, Vayach, that he hit him. Or Mipanei, that maybe he saw that the Egyptian fell dead. I mean, it could be that, Moshe killed him. It could be that he just dropped dead and then Moshe hit him because Moshe was afraid that they would blame it on him. Maybe the Egyptian just fell dead and Moshe was afraid that they would try to pin the murder on him. And therefore he buried him. And this, it says, Datana Aviram, this evil Jew, he saw him do so. And he knew that Moshe must have been the cause. In other words, he saw the Egyptian drop dead, maybe just drop dead from a heart attack. But Moshe Rabbeinu was worried that someone would see it and pin it on him, or maybe someone would find the body and they'd say, hey, I saw Moshe was wandering around in this area yesterday, and they would try to pin it on Moshe, so Moshe hit him. So here's this Jew stands over there, and he says, well, the fact is I really didn't see Moshe kill him, but I saw that Moshe was there. And I saw this person grab onto his heart and he fell down on the ground. So, you know what? I'll make up a story that Moshe killed him. He thought Moshe did kill him, maybe with a sword, because he didn't see anything. All he saw was just burying him. So that's what Moshe is saying. The fact that the Torah is telling us that he killed him with the word of God. But this evil person didn't know that, right? On the other hand, the word Amar is a little bit of a problem. So he says like this. Sometimes Ata Omar, sometimes the word Omer, Halahargeni Ata Omer. Omer. The word Omer means to think. Are you thinking about Ata Omer? Are you going to kill me, Ata Omer? You're thinking about killing me like you killed the Egyptian yesterday? Because a lot of times we find this. So that's what he was saying. Not, are you going to kill me by speaking the word of God? Because this evil person couldn't have known anything like that. Okay. Right. That's what the Ramban says. Anyway, Paro found out about it, and he decided he's going to kill Moshe. Right? In other words, how did Paro find out about it? Because Himil Shinolov, because these two Jews that were fighting, Datan and Aviram, they went to Paro and they told him. So Paro decided he's going to kill Moshe. Masru Lakos Tinar, he gave him to the, what is it, how do they call it? There's a word for it. Anyway, the one who kills people, executioner, gave him to the executioner, Laharagot, to kill him. And it says that he tried, but Moshe's neck turned into marble and the sword didn't penetrate. That's what Moshe says later on. Vayatzilenu micherav Paro, says that Moshe said that God saved him from the sword of Paro. And Moshe went and he lived in Moshe Paro, Yeshev b'Midyon, and he lived in Midyon. And this is where he's going to meet Yitro. He went to Mitro, he delayed there, like it says, Vayeshev Yaakov, he just delayed over there. And he went over to a well. Why? Well, says he learned from Yaakov that Yaakov found his mate by a well. It says that the Kohen Midyan to the high priest of Midyan had 7 daughters. And they came along and they pulled up water and they filled the water troughs in order to feed the sheep of their fathers. And Midyan, why Kohen Midyan? Says Kohen Midyan, he was the greatest person in Midyan. And what happened was, as according to some opinions, that he separated from being a priest for idolatry, and they evicted him. They said that they poured water into these troughs, and other shepherds came and drove them away. In other words, they said, we're going to water our sheep. And Moshe came and he saved them, and he watered their sheep. Said, why did the other shepherds drive away these daughters of Yitro? Says, Mipanei Nidui, because Yitro had been expelled from the community because he didn't want to worship their idols anymore. Moshe saved them. This comes out to tell you that the other shepherds, they came and they spilled out the water because of that Yitro had been driven away from them. Why? Because Yitro started having, he said that he worshipped all the other gods in the world. He knew everything. We're going to see in Parshas Yitro, there's a whole portion of the Torah called, and he said that he was kofer of Avodah Zorah. And Moshe came along and saved them all. In other words, Yitro got a big reward. What was his big reward? He started having big doubts in all these other idols and worshiping all these spirits and stars and people and things like that. So he decided it was enough. As soon as he said, I'm not going to serve in your, whatever it is, your places of idolatry anymore. So they said, okay, then get out, leave, right? You're a bad influence on the children, right? We want our children to be idolaters, and you're making them think that maybe idolatry is a bad thing. So they kicked him out. They evicted him. And because of that, God arranged it that Moshe would come and he would show him what God really wants. And amazingly, Yitro left everything and he went after Moshe. We'll see. Moshe saved all the daughters. They came to Reuel, Avihem, to their father Reuel. Now, Reuel, Yitro has a lot of names, and one of them is Reuel. But Evan Ezra doesn't say that. Evan Ezra says that Reuel was their grandfather, Avihem. Their father was Yitro, and Yitro was the Choten, the Chovev. His name was called Chovev. Okay, that's what he says, but there's a lot of opinions that say no, that Reuel was one of the names of. We'll see later on, it's called Yeter. So he said, where they said, are there a man came and he saved us? They said, where is this person that came and saved you? And Moshe agreed to come and sit together with Yitro and with Reuel, and he gave Tzipporah, his daughter, to Moshe. Let's just see one more. But Yoel, it says maybe it could be that Yisro was the son of Reuel, says Evan Ezra, and therefore, I'm sorry, Ulai lo haya shem Yisro ben Reuel. Maybe Sham, maybe he wasn't there, and therefore is not mentioned his name. It says just as is that Yoel Moshe stood with a person, with the ish, with the ish. So it says it's a different opinions. Is Reuel and Yitro the same person? And well, God willing, we'll talk about this more tomorrow. We'll discuss this tomorrow in tomorrow's Chitas. Okay, and that'll be the end of today's lesson. Thank you very much for watching, and God bless you. Have a good day. See you tomorrow at 8:15.